onda, hermosa? ¿Cómo estás?
Le voy a dar una patrulla, Cali, para que vean qué tiene.
Háblale, ¿qué tiene? Háblale. No va a ir.
Vete, ya vete. No, me vas a hacer enojar, Cali, vete, por favor. Vete, lárgate, te dije que te largues. No quiero nada contigo, ya vete, por favor. Ven y que me hables, por favor, entiende. Cada quien por su lado, por favor.
Vámonos. No, mañana voy a venir. Mañana vengo. Sí, mañana vengo.
No, ven.
Yep, that is Clint's girlfriend, and that manly woman's heart is only for him and no one else. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Rudowski here of the best political show, and we are going to be going live in a very extremely echoey room where we will be discussing all the latest and craziest news developing right now, as of course there's a lot to talk about, especially when it comes to the latest current events as the Biden campaign is dealing with an utter disaster. Donald Trump is actually turning to Bitcoin and doing a lot better, as everyone expects him to soon pick his VP pick, as everyone's talking about Project 2025, but not Agenda 2030 for some strange reason, as of course NATO also has a big conference. What's really going on there? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here for the next 2 hours on this independent media broadcast, as of course we are now in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are here at Freedom Fest, as in just a few minutes from now, Rob Schneider will be coming in and joining us for this particular conversation. But before going to him, we have a lot of other incredible, great people here in studio with us that will be talking about all the latest news developing right now, as we will ask you guys to please share this broadcast with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever that you guys do that. There's a larger algorithm squeeze against independent media, especially during election cycles, and this is why you guys helping get the word out there, sharing this video, copying the link, sending it to your random people on your friends list really does mean a lot to us, and we can't thank you guys enough for doing that, because if you guys never did that, we wouldn't be here. The algorithm doesn't like us, you like us, and that's how we still exist, and that's how we still survive. So graciously, thank you so much for that. As of course, you guys probably will also be able to be a part of the conversation. And one quick and easy way to do that is through LukeUnfiltered.com. I think we're going to take callers in about 30 minutes just to switch things up. So if you are a member of LukeUnfiltered.com, go into the Telegram group and we will be going to you and talking to you in about 30 minutes from now. Also, a part of your memberships, we are doing a cigar night here this Saturday in Las Vegas, 4:30 p.m. local time. And if you want to hang out and do a little cigar night with some of the great people that you see here on screen with you, if you want to come hang out and just chill and relax and meet like-minded individuals, and we usually like to do nature hikes and touch grass. But
I'm so glad we're not hiking in 120
this is the thing that Clint is actually going to show up to. So Clint's definitely going to show up to the cigar night, which is great. I'm going to have to move that camera when you do your introductions here in a little bit, so you get to fit in there as well. But we got a lot of people on camera, off camera that help to make this show possible. So sincerely thank them. I want to thank them. I want to sincerely thank you guys also for checking out mysuperchat.com. We're going to make sure that your super chats actually show up on screen, and you could do that right now through mysuperchat.com. And of course, we will be doing everything we can to prioritize any and all super chats during the conversation. Now, again, we still have a little bit more time until Rob Schneider joins us. So we have some other great people, including Andrew Meyer, who's also here in this house, who's pushing buttons, who did a very poor job. You did a poor job.
Wow.
Say something.
Howdy. Yeah.
Don't tase me, bro.
Yeah, this is Andrew Meyer, the first ever meme. He's helping us tremendously, pushing buttons. So if he has something very important to say, he's going to lean in and then try to say it here on this mic. You got to do the button pushing, Andrew. So thank you. We appreciate that. As of course, also joining us for this conversation is the one and only Clint Russell.
Yo.
Who's going to show up to cigar night as I move the camera to
And for the
accommodate.
record, I would in prior iterances, or I would have showed up for the hikes,
Sure.
but I had things that I was doing.
I don't believe it.
Well, it's true.
No.
But I am locked in. I do take a red eye home on Saturday, but if we're doing it at 4, I can actually do that.
Yeah,
So.
4:30. 4:30 cigar night should be nice. You just had Ron Paul on your show as well?
I did. I also had Ian Carroll. Got Sam Tripoli next week. It's we're doing big things. So make sure you subscribe to Liberty Lockdown at Liberty Lockpod on X. I just shared our stream, so make sure you guys are watching it. If you're not watching it already, then you should be watching it there. But if I'm talking to you now and you're not watching it, then you probably aren't hearing this. So this is kind of a dumb plug. Anyways, we got Josie and Martha Bueno in the building.
The amazing Marta Bueno, Cuban refugee and just an awesome human being.
I'm not actually a refugee, but thank you. And also,
You just swam from the boats like this morning from Cuba. So
yeah, all of that. Also, you missed an opportunity, Luke. Let's show up a little 10 minutes before your cigar thing for my kind of people. That's all I'm saying. 4:20 instead of 4:30. Oh, gosh, Luke.
There you
I mean,
go.
seriously.
Missing all the opportunities.
Missing all the opportunities for all the stoners who don't like the tobacco. Now you know.
We'll do a Martha Bueno
10 minute before?
meet up 10 minutes before
There you go.
Yeah.
your meetup.
Perfect.
I like cigars. I don't like the wacky tobacco, but
Yeah, well, I don't
once
like
in a
your
while.
cigars. I know I'm
Yeah.
Cuban, but it's no, thank you.
Once in a blue moon, I like a little cigar. So, Josie, the redheaded libertarian, is also in the house. Great to have you here as well. Thank you so much for coming. Who are you? How would you introduce yourself? And Martha, wait, where can people find you, Martha?
On X as Bueno for Miami.
Awesome. Josie?
I'm Josie. I'm the redheaded libertarian. I host a Spaces show on X called Spaces with Josie. I've had some really cool people on there like Congressman Thomas Massey and Vivek Ramaswamy and Scott Adams. And I work with Timcast at timcast.com, so you can go over there, become a subscriber, and help support our work.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have all you great people here, as of course we're still waiting for the main guest to kind of come in here, but I thought it would be a great opportunity to start off the broadcast, and it should be a very exciting one. It's very rare that we get such like big guests. We made this show happen with the help of a lot of random people. There was these nice people that literally just came in, and
Shout out to Trav.
And Trav, thank you so much for, of course, coming through and helping us with some of the audio equipment here. As of course, this room's not the best. This is a little echoey, but I think we'll make do with everything that we got to get done.
At least we got our own room. We're not in a media row with 1,000 other people talking simultaneously. So I'll take the echo over the chorus of additional people talking.
Yeah, that would have been super freaking annoying. But it's going to be an exciting broadcast because I have so many questions I want to ask Rob Schneider, who, of course, is absolutely leading the way when it comes to pushing the Overton window. The guy got kicked out of Republican events. The guy, doesn't hold anything back, and that's why I think we're going to have to save the conversation with him for the other platform. And on this particular platform, we're just going to go over all the latest news right now, as of course, there's never a shortage of things to talk about, especially in the news, as of course we have this article from NBC News, specifically talking about how, quote, it's already disastrous. Biden campaign fundraising takes a major hit. And yeah, people aren't going to be investing in someone that they think is going to lose or be replaced last minute, especially with the larger questions of what's going to be happening with the purse of the Democratic political party machine. As a lot of people are saying, Kamala needs to step in because she's the one that will actually be able to keep a lot of the huge mega donor money that has already been given to Joe Biden. And why would you give money to a campaign whose future is still so freaking uncertain? So this story isn't a surprise for me, as of course the current president of the United States is still readying up his big boy press conference that now will determine his faith in the 2024 presidential election. The thing is, this campaign is saying if he does good in this press conference, he's going to continue running. He's going to prove to everyone that he's competent, that he's definitely aware of everything that's going on. He's absolutely spry. He's absolutely on it. Will he be? What do you guys think?
Joe Biden being spry and on it is not really a thing. So I stand by my prediction last week. We are in countdown mode. Countdown to Kamala. It's coming. I think because she's the only candidate, according to the laws or the bylaws, that can actually receive the hundreds of millions of dollars that they've raised for the Biden campaign. I don't see how you possibly get her out of the way unless she voluntarily steps down, and I don't see her doing that. She is way too hungry for power. So. Josie, you on the same page?
Yeah, the sociopaths don't like to relinquish power.
No.
Yes, I think that what they're going to end up doing is they're going to replace Joe at their convention with Kamala, but they're going to bring out a strong or a well-liked or a vice president that might sell people, like Gavin Newsom or Pete Buttigieg.
Mm.
So I think that's what.
Well, that's
they're gonna
horrifying.
do.
That is horrifying. I actually think it's going to be the other way around. I think Kamala stays in the VP position, and they're going to put in some Newsom or somebody, some stronger, figure in one of the top positions, which is just messed up for all the people that were like, we need a woman president and of color.
Yes.
And they're going to be like, no, this isn't your turn. You're going to sit there.
I wonder if there's a bylaw that's like if she stays vice president, they can keep the funding, or if there's not even a bylaw, so they can just make it up, because the DNC does whatever they want, and we know this.
They see Bernie Sanders, and they're like, we'll kick him to the side. He'll enjoy it.
So
he'll like it.
they
And
make
he
their
did.
own
He did.
rules.
He did. He literally got screwed over by the whole DNC
But he took that
machine.
payment so well.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
sure that-
he loved it. He's a sadomasochist in many ways, as of course Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who rigged the primaries against him, got rewarded with a congressional seat, as of course Hillary Clinton made sure that she was taken care of. People are saying, Josie, your volume is very low. Speak into the mic, and then please move the mic this way, like we had it before. Andrew, you stay right here. You move. No. You
the other
move
way.
this way, that way. Yes,
There you
and
go.
then move it closer. Yeah. Okay.
Then, no, just angle the mic.
Angle the mic, yes.
Somebody do this for me, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well,
Thanks, guys. I'm kind of retarded.
I think a lot of
Josie, you're not helping the female cause here.
Yes. Also,
Thank you.
in other news that's also developing and also
Spatial
happening
awareness.
right
Thank you,
now,
Clint.
we had a very interesting interaction that was supposed to. Josie, don't move it, Josie. We're watching you.
I thought I had to bring it closer to me.
Yes, we'll just lean into it
Is
if
this
you can a
good?
little bit.
The jokes
Yeah.
just write themselves, Josie.
Yes.
Move it closer to Martha?
No.
No.
In.
Scoot in.
Scooting in. Moving it so I can scoot.
There you go. We got this. We
Sorry, there's this weird tablecloth thing here.
I know.
It's suction-y. All right. There we go.
What is it? A Joe Biden suction
I
cloth?
hope not, because
I think that's an interesting question, though. Well, first off, I don't think Kamala remains in the VP slot. I don't think she would do that. Like, that would be such an affront to her to have Biden step down and then have some new old white dude step in and to still be her boss. Like, I find that very hard to believe that she would accept it. But we'll see. We find out in about a month.
it would have to be her saying, I feel like my position is the vice president. It'd have to be her saying that to the people, because that would rile up all the
Right.
black women voters.
Yeah. Well, so she has to then, like, verbally just declare, I don't want to be the president, basically. And I just can't imagine her saying that.
No.
Yeah.
This is going to be like I don't see an easy way out of this, because every poll that has Kamala at the top shows that she loses like a large part.
Yeah.
So there's no good way to like fix this situation. They put her there, and now she's going to want the top, and the top means they lose.
Right.
And I'm okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I'm thrilled by this.
Me too.
I hope she doesn't go down. I hope she stays.
Well, telling Kamala not to go down is going to be a challenge.
That's what she usually
will
does.
say that on you.
That's how
She's
she
good
got
at
in the
it.
position of power. But getting down on her.
Well, listen,
lovely
are
knees.
we mad that women have this power? Like, honestly.
Well, I think that another way that this could go, because they only really need Joe Biden to get through the State of the Union. As long as he can do that, Barack Obama or whoever is pulling the strings can call all the shots, and Joe can be the puppet as long as he can. They just have to take down his in-person meetings and his in-person press conferences and all of that. Just keep knocking him down, not letting him take questions from the press, and play it out as long as they can. If they can get him through the midterms of, what would that be, 2026?
It's impossible. The thing about these mental conditions.
I'm saying if they can get him through, that, then Kamala can take over at the midterms, and then she can run for two full terms after that.
Oh my God.
So that's kind of our nightmare situation of what could happen, but it'd be another 2 years, and they'd push it through, and then Kamala would have to take over.
That would totally turn into an actual weekend at Bernie's. Like at that point, they just need to like put him on puppet strings and just kind of like.
Yeah, it's really.
He's
sad
not
it's
already
happening to
on
him.
puppet strings. You're telling me? It's gonna be fascinating because I still think I'm kind of sticking to my guns. I still think the craziest thing that could happen is that he becomes the nominee and he becomes the next president of the United States. I think
that's the craziest thing that
that's
can
the
happen?
craziest thing that could happen, and I think there's a chance that it actually might. So it'll be interesting because his fate was supposed to be determined by an interview that he did with George Stephanopoulos, but the interview went, it went okay. George Stephanopoulos actually was asked by someone randomly in the street about how he thinks Biden performed, about his future, and he specifically said that he doesn't believe President Joe Biden has the ability to serve a second term. He actually came out and apologized for making this comment that everyone saw as a legitimate, true comment, as now Radar Online is reporting that ABC News actually threatened to pull his show, allegedly, if he didn't apologize for, of course, talking badly about Joe Biden during a private interaction where he was walking down the street, which highlights, I think the Biden Democratic machine does have a lot of sway, does have a lot of control, does have a lot of influence. The media, MSNBC, they're still sucking up to him. There's a chance, especially with the mega donors saying specifically, I would rather have a not alive Biden over a live Kamala, highlights truly a very interesting predicament that I think might unfold like I kind of called it to be. So I think that's a possibility. But this kind of George Stephanopoulos apology for stating the obvious kind of highlights that there absolutely is something else happening behind the scenes where the Biden administration and the Biden camp is saying, no, you're going to toe the line. And the corporate media is saying, yep, we definitely will.
Can you imagine Stephanopoulos in the boardroom? He must be like, guys, I thought we all, privately we were allowed to tell the truth that the emperor doesn't have clothes. Like, we can't even, not even when we're not on the air. But yeah, the fact that he would apologize tells you everything you need to know. I mean, ABC, NBC, all of the major news outlets, they all know where their bread's buttered. They're not going to alienate the DNC.
He's getting reprimanded for telling the truth,
Yep.
for speaking his truth. Isn't that what the left was like all the time? Speak your truth. Tell who you are,
that was
you know?
the thing, because it's
Orwell.
speaking our truth. So for the last, since probably 2017, 2018, the left has been in step. Nobody broke away from, it was when Nancy Pelosi was the speaker. Nobody broke away from the vote. They all were in step. They all towed the line, every single one of them. And it was almost the first time in like a decade that we saw the left fragmented after that Joe Biden, Donald Trump debate.
Yep.
So I think that was interesting that we saw that they were divided.
Yeah, because even the squad, they would, on the campaign trail, they would signal that they're outsiders, that they're in opposition to the Pelosi-led DNC. It's obviously not the case. When it comes to voting, they pretty much, they're allowed to do their dissident votes, but only when they already have enough votes to get it over the finish line.
Exactly.
It's just definitional fake opposition.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Hayes had some very interesting comments where he took to air on MSNBC and had this to say, which I want you guys to respond to.
Clooney's observations are not unique. Joe Biden is a decent man who, like I said, has done nothing wrong. He hasn't been caught in a scandal. He is just aging. And that reality makes him, I think, increasingly likely to lose re-election to a Republican candidate who, again, is just a few years younger, we're going to be in the same boat a few years from now, we elect him, and who has done a lot wrong, a shocking amount wrong, and who's promised to do more wrong if he wins. And again, there is no conversation about whether he should drop out because that candidate's party is too afraid to ask him to step aside or do anything against him, because any suggestion from any Republican that Donald Trump should step aside for the good of their party or the country or face accountability for his many crimes and sins is met with rabid rhetorical attacks, excommunication, and often death threats.
Yep, stay in line. Don't question the party orthodoxy or else they will cancel you. Essentially, Chris Hayes is saying, hey, we're going to have to stay united here because if we don't, the Orange Man is going to win. It's pretty clear. Orange Man is kind of a favorite to, of course, win this one, Andrew, who, of course, his cell phone just went off. What do you guys think about Chris Hayes' comment?
Well, I think the most galling part is he says Joe Biden did nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's where I also.
Did he try to laugh? I'm not looking at the video, but it almost sounded like he was holding back, like trying to keep a straight face.
That was me.
That was you.
Yeah.
No, he also did like
He
kind
did
of.
seem like he was trying to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
Because that was the tone I got from his voice. Like
It's
he
like the
didn't even
normal-
believe what he was saying.
It's the normal Maddow condensation. Condensation.
He hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah. It was,
Okay.
condescending.
yeah. I don't know why I can't say the word. I'm tired. Anyways, yeah. Look. The only way you can say that Joe Biden has done nothing wrong or just portray this as if this is like no big deal. Like, first off, one, yes, there's nothing he can do about his brain breaking. Like that is a physical ailment, and I don't hold that against him. But to say he's done nothing wrong, particularly with the Burisma scandal, is just galling to an unbelievable
Showering with
level.
his daughter,
Well,
taking 10% for the big man, selling out our country. I mean, you know, maybe it's just me, but I think that treason is pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his family. Even if you buy the argument that he has in fact not personally profited, you cannot totally disconnect culpability when it comes to, hey, your brother and your son and some of your personal confidants have all made millions of dollars, like declared they have made millions of dollars doing business deals, trading off of your name.
Absolutely. I mean,
So-
let's be honest. Hunter Biden might be great at art, but he's not $500,000 per art piece great at art. If you know any artist, you know for a fact that Biden name was what they were buying, and that Biden access was what they were buying.
Well,
There's no.
It's a perfect outlet to money launder too.
Absolutely.
Because you overpay for his art, and then all of a sudden you get a favor from Joe, and there's no dot to connect. It's very hard to prove. But
You
this
just
is-
really love that artwork
right. But this is what he's
that
been
the
doing.
crackhead did while he was high. I mean, obviously, crackheads make excellent art.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, crackheads work really hard. Okay?
They do,
All right,
yes,
those
yes.
they have a strong work
In
ethic.
between, trafficking young women across state lines, he did a fantastic job with his art. Absolutely.
But guys, do you know what's much worse? A
There's worse?
businessman who is running for president that books a legal expense or settles a legal expense and books it as under campaign finance.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how bad that is next to everything else? I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Well, the
no.
whole system is corrupted. I wouldn't expect MSNBC to, of course, legitimately kind of criticize Joe Biden unless there's kind of marching orders. But it does look that, very interestingly, these marching orders have changed recently, not just by the comments from Chris Hayes, but also these comments from Morning Joe.
Democrats have to unite against the immediate threat before America's 240-year constitutional republic is no more. Lincoln finished that 1858 speech telling his fellow party members, against strange, discordant, even hostile elements, we gathered from four winds and we fought the battle through under the constant hot fire of a disciplined, proud, and pampered enemy. Did we brave all then to falter now? Now, when that same enemy is wavering, disturbed, and belligerent? This result is not doubtful, Lincoln said. We shall not fail if we stand firm. We shall not fail if we stand together. Because so said Lincoln then, and so says a watchful and very worried nation now.
Damn right. Biden 2024, poopy pants all the way through the campaign trail, leaving traces of himself everywhere he goes, like a very good politician that leaves a part of him, literally, figuratively, everywhere he goes. Listen, I think he's onto something. I'm riding with Biden. I think this is a great idea. I think he's the candidate. We can't question. We
gotta
can't
stand
waver.
together, Luke. We gotta stand
Abraham Lincoln would have wanted this to happen. You're a racist and bigot if you're not liking Joe Biden right now. That's all I got to say.
So, did the beginning of that statement say something about this is going to be the end of our constitutional republic? Did they say that? Did they?
I don't know if
at the
you-
beginning of that?
I caught that
You
too.
I couldn't
they're
tell.
finally saying
Yes.
that it's a constitutional
Exactly.
republic.
So thank you
It's
for
not
that.
a democracy anymore.
Exactly. So let's talk about what they do to destroy their constitutional republic. So anytime that SCOTUS, which is they say it's a conservative majority, but it's an originalist majority, okay? That means they are as close to the Constitution as possible. They read it, they go back and they read Like Heller, the Heller ruling, Scalia went back and he went to Webster's too, and he looked and he got the exact definition of what they meant by well-regulated. And it didn't mean what it means today. And so that's how he applied it to the law when he wrote that. This is what originalists do, okay? So their answer to saving our constitutional republic is to pack the court full of progressive justices who are anti-originalist, okay? The originalist interpretation of the Constitution is the right interpretation for our constitutional republic.
Undoubtedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what's so frustrating about AOC. I mean, she's the one that filed the impeachment motions, and I just, the fact that they would argue that, you know, you have to defend democracy by interfering with the judiciary is like, okay, well, you don't believe in separation of powers. Yes. Has anybody dug enough to know if, like, there's actually dots connected to the gifts that the justices received? Because to me, it seems like it's reaching at best, but yeah. I haven't dug enough to know.
The way that it's written in the way of like what you'd give somebody who gives a speech. It's like he got meals covered and a hotel covered. And that's like, all right, what was going on at that time? Was he giving a speech? Because that's totally appropriate. Right. This is what congressmen do all the time. So, I mean, if it's like, okay, was he giving a speech in wherever he was flown to, his fabulous trip? I don't know. So, I mean, that'd be something to look at. What was he doing? Who was paying him? Was he doing a service for that? Because, you know, I give speaking gigs and people pay for my hotel or pay for my flights to get me there. And
right. Well, you got to be impeached then.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so I think that, I mean, I just read through everything and that's what it reads like to me, is that they're digging and they're trying to discredit and put doubt into the mind of the people because
of course.
He's not getting impeached.
Can we do that for all Congress critters too? Because I'm pretty sure that they all accept flights and hotels and meals and
Insider
other
trading.
gigs.
And children
Yeah.
and babies and private island trips.
Yes.
So yeah, you know, private jet flights and whatnot and so fancy things. So let's do it for all of them. You know what? I'm in favor of researching all of them. Let's go.
The reason that they are going after the SCOTUS so hard is because that's the last institution in our country that is not completely and entirely captured by communists. There are communists in there. Yeah. There are 3 of them. I mean, 2 really big ones, but there's 3. And everywhere else. So if you look at the heads of the media, if you look at the heads of government, if you look at the heads of big tech, big pharma, universities, Hollywood, everybody is pushing the same agenda except for the Supreme Court, which is, you know, the ultimate deterrent and ruling of the law of the land.
It also happens to be the best reason for Donald Trump to get a second term because he's the only reason that the Supreme Court is not controlled by the Marxists.
Can y'all imagine what would have happened if Hillary Clinton put 3 more Justice Sotomayors into the court? That's what would have happened if we didn't have Donald Trump. That was the best thing that could have possibly happened, and that's why they fought so hard against his justices.
Also, imagine what would have happened if Donald Trump wouldn't have been the president during 2020. I mean, he was terrible during COVID, but imagine COVID under a Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
That's what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, the deep state doesn't work that fast. I think they were preparing 2020, you know, the whole COVID thing for a Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
or an Al Gore, or
right.
a major kind of Democratic operative.
That was really going to shut us down. I mean, I just think that it would have been 2020 on steroids, if you can imagine.
Well, I get real wild on this one, and I can't really talk about it openly, but I'll just say this. I'm not at all sure that 2020 happens if Hillary Clinton is the president.
Oh, I do. Absolutely. They would have taken even more control.
I think they would have done something more aggressively when it comes to foreign policy, and they would have, you know, called their buddies
with Russia.
Called their bat-sucking buddies over there at Wuhan, and be like, hold it up, hold on there, buddy. Let's wait until you suck down that penguin and that bat down your mouth hole.
What would have happened under a Hillary Clinton presidency and picking 3 justices under her presidency is anytime. So what saved us really was states' rights in that time. It was governors like DeSantis and governor in South Dakota who didn't shut down. Governor DeSantis did briefly, but you know, it was the states' rights that were able to push us through. And I feel like if there were 3 Sotomayors, all of a sudden that wouldn't have no, this is unconstitutional.
Well, what happened during those years, during the health crises that this country went through, is very akin to, of course, Agenda 2030. This is from the World Economic Forum, where they literally declared you will own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better, according to the soylent bug eaters who are addicted to short-term dopamine adult-like content on the internet that absolutely have no life of their own. All the beta soy jacks probably will be happy, as of course they'll be drugged up on a lot of big pharma pills. But this is something that I think is very
Soy jacks.
this is something akin to what I think the hubbub is about with Project 2025. Now, this is why I think they might be potentially going full steam ahead with Biden and his poopy pants as much as and as fast as they can. It's because they're running many different kind of aggressive maneuvers against Donald Trump. This whole Project 2025 psyop is pretty big. There's another one connecting him allegedly to Russian interference in this election, which is coming up again, which is absolutely freaking crazy. But the whole Project 2025 really does highlight larger efforts by the media, by the intelligence agencies that are thinking up new things, new attack vectors to actually go after Donald Trump rather than actually deal with the current situation on their hand, which is President Poopy Pants. I'm going to have to use the restroom. Andrew's going to fill in for me. You guys take it from here. I'll be right back.
That was a lot of information. Thanks, Luke. We really appreciate it. You want to tell us what you're going to go ahead
Project
and do
2025 and Agenda 2030. Talk about that.
All right. Project 2025, I hadn't even heard about until the left were losing their minds over it. And I went and looked. I'm like, you're losing your minds over wanting to have a father in the home? I mean, I'm looking at the stuff because they all were like, it needs to be a Christo-fascist regime is what they're trying to reel in. I'm reading through. I'm like, these are just normal values of normal people.
Also, how did we get that, like, Donald Trump is the one that's behind it when it was the Heritage Foundation? I mean, like, maybe he likes some of it. I haven't really dug
Donald
deep.
Trump was like, I haven't looked at it. And I mean, I don't know. He's like, I kind of looked at it. I don't agree with everything in it, but it has nothing to do with me. Let them do their thing.
Yeah, and it's like 1,000,000 pages. That thing was long.
I think it's a 900-page document, or 700.
It was 1,000.
So like a small fraction of what each bill that passes Congress is. So yeah, definitely. I'm sure all those lefties actually read it.
And Trump has already distanced himself from it, saying, and basically everyone in the GOP has come out saying, yeah, we like some things, we don't like others. Trump has been very, very concise in that there will be the Trump transition team, and they will set policy. And if there is any overlap, it's probably coincidental. But this is exactly how think tanks work. They put out policy proposals. They try and get politicians on board with them. Unless Donald Trump comes out and says, yes, I am rolling with Project 2025. That is our baby. That's what we're doing. This is all fear mongering, and it's a total misdirect from Agenda 2030, which is very real. Comes from the United Nations. The Great Reset comes through the World Economic Forum, which has a tremendous overlap between that and Agenda 2030 of the UN. And almost every Western democracy is in lockstep with Agenda 2030, but they don't talk about that. But they want you to be focused on Project 2025. Just so that if you now argue, well, this project is not worth being fearful over, well, then now they can do the same thing when it comes to Agenda 2030, which is actually very real.
Yeah. Well, what it is, it's an anti-communist proposal. Like, it's the ultimate anti-communist proposal. It restores morals, it restores values, it restores family and history and logic and reality. It restores religion. It restores.
I will say this, though. It does violate states' rights when it comes to abortion, because it wants a federal level abortion.
It is a little
ban.
authoritarian.
Yeah.
Also, I do love how they've taken Biden and put out a whole bunch of videos of him saying, Google it. Google Project 2025. So, and he had his own website up there, which, if you hit the link, and it's this fear mongering. But my favorite part is they're going to end the Department of Education. And I'm like, yes!
They're doing two things by highlighting Project 2025. One, yes, they're fear-mongering. They're big boogeyman, be afraid of Trump. Two, they're trying to divorce him again from his loyal supporters, because Project 2025, Amanda Milius, who was in the first Trump administration, has talked about it. It's all of his most loyal supporters figuring out ahead of time how they're going to staff the administration with people actually loyal to Trump, kick out the deep state bureaucrats, and that's what they don't want. They want Trump to disavow it ahead of time so that if he takes power, it's going to be with people subverting him in the administration, not with his loyalists.
I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, on Biden's page, he says, where did Project 2025 come from? The highest levels of the MAGA Trump elite wrote Project 2025 as a blueprint for Trump to implement if he wins a second term. Like, yes, exactly what you just said, Andrew. Like, they are exactly trying to fearmonger that.
Right. And they also want Trump to not bring any of those people into his cabinet. But I honestly, it shouldn't deter him at all. He's not up for re-election after this term.
Right.
So if I'm him, I'm going to staff with the most, brilliant and loyal folks that I have. I will not be interacting with any of the swamp monsters like I did in the first go around. That's going to tell us everything as to whether or not his second term is actually going to be viable.
Right. Think about his legacy. This man is going to end the presidency if he wins in his 80s. He's already raised his children. Barron is now over the age of 18. He's already accomplished so much in business. Like, he could go down in history as some of the most freedom forward. This could be an amazing legacy for Trump. And we know he's a narcissist. Why wouldn't he want that? I mean, why would he want to go be a swamp creature again when he could legitimately move freedom forward in this country and do some real good stuff?
Well, they try to take away everything from him, and he's kind of in a situation where he has nothing else left to lose.
Right.
So this is going to be a fascinating situation, a situation that I think a lot of people don't want to happen, and we'll talk about that because we have new Russian collusion news breaking down. But before getting into that, we're trying to see who wants to call in now. If you're a member of LukeUnfiltered.com, go into the Telegram group. I'm in there now, and if you want to call in right now. But before going there, we want to tell you about one of our sponsors that allows this show to actually run and operate the way it is, and that, of course, is getintogoldnow.com, alpinegold.com, as of course there's a lot of very significant pressures on our economy. The dollar is losing its value, and a lot of people are turning to gold, and we turned to a company that is trusted, that does some really cool stuff, that is absolutely awesome. They worked with Ron Paul before, now they're working with us and literally helping us get out here to do these on the ground podcast episodes with frickin' Rob Schneider. So shouts out to Alpine Gold. They have a lot of different products. They have physical gold. They have these gold backs, which are pretty cool, that a lot of people in the Free State community use. Again, check them out.
They're here too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. What's it called? Lou Perez came out on stage last night with it, and he was like, what are these, Willy Wonka golden tickets? and then no, they're gold backs that actually have physical gold inside of them. There's no chocolate inside of them. There's actual physical gold in the notes that we're showing you, and they have a lot of different products. You should absolutely check them out. Getintogoldnow.com and support our sponsors that support this particular work.
Do you know what I love about those gold backs is that they it solves a problem of gold. You can actually you can't carry around a bar and here, let me shave off a little bit, but it is such a great present for kids especially. So if anybody is thinking, what can you do with it? Presents for kids. Think about giving a child a gold back, what it'll be worth later on. It's so great.
And I also think it's just a perfect conversation starter with your kids to explain to them the value of money versus fiat, because then they're looking at it and they're like, all right, well, why is this green piece of paper worth as much as this one? And you can actually explain, well, it's not. It's not.
It's actually the gold back is worth way more. But also, it's such a great way, especially if you have a child in your life that it maybe isn't your child, but maybe has parents that are more statist. Yeah. What a great gift to give that child that he or she can hold on to.
If you're an aunt or an uncle,
absolutely.
This is a perfect way to subvert your
godparent, you name it. Yes, absolutely. Give those kids, of course, the $100 one is probably the best, but you can start with the $1, whatever. It is fantastic. I think they're so great. I picked some up at PorkFest, and I'm going to probably do some more here.
Alpine Gold has been around since 2011 and has done hundreds of millions of dollars of transactions. They have branches around the country to serve people who want to preserve their wealth in their own communities. Their IRA program is one of the only programs in the world that allows you to earn guaranteed interest with the ability to spend and use your metals with 0% spread. The government and Fed can't control inflation on their own spending, and for the first time in human history, we have the technology and ability to have an alternative option to spend, preserve, and increase your wealth. That is getintogoldnow.com. and Alpine Gold. I like gold!
I think everyone heard that.
Get into gold.
Freedom Fest.
I like gold too. We share that in common.
Yeah,
I accept gold backs.
Shouts out. to get into goldnow.com. I really appreciate them. As of course, it looks like we finally now have a caller who's going to be calling in and asking us a question. Taylor, you are live on air with us as I adjust your screen. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Thank you so much for calling in. What is your question for everyone?
Oh yeah. First off, can you hear me well?
Yeah, speak up.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you a question. I actually wanted to ask Rob a question, but it seems like he's not here. Maybe he will see the question later and answer that. But I've seen that Rob Schneider posted a lot about Ukraine. Specifically, every time that there's an aid going to Ukraine, he always says like, oh, like maybe we should have better send it to like homeless people. And I'm always getting stumbled by not only Rob Schneider, but when people are saying that in general, because like, first off, we're not sending money to Ukraine, we're sending equipment, and the money are getting spent domestically to replenish the ammunition and weapons that we're sending. And also, I don't get it, like, how's not sending aid to Ukraine, which is the country that we have a Budapest memorandum with, is gonna improve the life of homeless people?
Yeah, good question, Taylor. As of course, California spent a lot of money giving homeless people a lot of resources, and that money was literally wasted away. So I kind of agree on your sentiments about government spending, and you do bring up an important point, especially with the last aid package, which essentially is a loan, and a lot of this is also loan components that they're going to have to be paying back there. Do you guys have any particular comments about this specific issue?
They're not going to be paying anything back.
Yes, I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the point that should be made, and I think that this is where maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, but the reality is that the United States is $35 trillion in debt, and that we don't have the funds to be sending not just to our homeless, but certainly not to foreign wars against nuclear powers in a proxy fashion. So that's the argument, is that this is bankrupting this country, and I don't see why there's a viable U.S. national interest, particularly given that we exited the intermediate nuclear deproliferation, or whatever it was called, treaty with Russia. Russia has also obviously backed out of treaties with us, but I just think that this is an escalatory trap. I don't see how our aid is actually helping Ukraine. In fact, it has prolonged the war. It has caused hundreds of thousands of additional casualties. So you tell me, why should we continue to fund it?
Because I don't see there is any other option. Because like, let's say, like, what's the alternative? Right now, we are like seizing all the aid. Like, what's going to happen next, do you think?
Well, I think that Ukraine is going to ultimately have to go to the negotiating table and negotiate peace, because I don't see how they're going to take this territory back.
Yeah, I think during negotiations, both sides will have to sacrifice something. The Russians will have to sacrifice something. The Ukrainians will have to sacrifice something. I think in a proper negotiation, both sides come off gaining something and then losing something as well. So I think we should at least be negotiating. And Zelensky did make a comment just a few days ago saying, we want peace, we want to negotiate, which was a very surprise kind of turn of events. The situation's not good. For me, financing the future kind of death of Slavic people is something that I just hate seeing.
But how's it a financing the future death of Slavic people if I actually think that Russia can go after Ukraine to other countries, especially like Baltics, Estonia, like Latvia? Those are very small countries. Like, Russia can sweep them very quickly if it's not stopped in Ukraine. How's that financing the death of Slavic people?
Article 5. There's
exactly. But if it doesn't go further than Ukraine, you don't have to enact Article 5. It stays in Ukraine. It doesn't go further.
Russia has avoided the NATO states with a 10-foot pole. He has not said anything about wanting to invade them. He has not tried to invade them. The only time Poland got bombed was, listen to me, the only time Poland was bombed was by Ukraine. And then they tried to blame Russia for that.
When did they bomb Ukraine? Hold on, when?
2 years
ago.
I
think Josie's bringing up a specific incident that happened with the Ukrainian missile defense systems that flew up in the air and then accidentally hit and took the lives of 2 Polish farmers.
Yep, and what happened
the concerning
right
incident that happened afterwards was when Volodymyr Zelensky came out and automatically tried to declare NATO Article 5. I think it's a two-pronged problem, and I understand your concerns when it comes to Russian aggression, which should be addressed, obviously, but there's also, NATO expansionism that does violate other treaties that also did happen. And I think,
Well,
I think if there was
I don't
ever
think that NATO expansion
ever
has
a
anything to
situation
do
that
with
would
why
de-escalate
Russia
the
invaded.
situation, hold on just one second, because we will listen to you and you bring up your points, and we'll listen to you, and we'll of course address them.
Okay, sure,
And
sure.
we appreciate the different perspective that we don't usually get here on the show. So we appreciate where you're coming from. But I think if there ever was a situation that would de-escalate it, it would be both kind of compromise, saying, okay, we're not going to further escalate the situation. We're going to back away from each other instead of going towards each other. And I think NATO has been going towards Russia and the Russian border. There has been a lot of significant military hardware being put on there. NATO's talking about putting nukes there. I think if we just sit at the negotiating table and say, hey, we're just going to move away our militaries away from each other. We're going to work out a truce, work out a peace. That would be my dream deal, because it would stop this war and it would stop a lot of young people from dying and losing their lives. And I think the propositions that Elon Musk kind of proposed are something that's becoming more of a reality, even though he was attacked for it. But I think if people would have listened to Elon Musk and what we were saying from the very beginning, a lot of more young men would have still been alive today. And I think that would have been overall a better victory than the current detente situation that Ukraine is in, which is not a good situation. I'm going to let you respond.
Sure. First off, I want to say, if we're going to look about the history of negotiations, the only one who actually sacrificed something was Ukraine, because we know Minsk agreements. Ukraine already sacrificed that, and Russia didn't stop after that. And also, second, you said that NATO expansion really has nothing to do with why Russia invaded. I mean, I get why people could have thought about that maybe like 2 years ago because of all the bad history of American invasions. But in Tucker Carlson interview, it's really evident that NATO has absolutely nothing to do. He didn't even bring NATO until Tucker asked him about that, because the reason why Putin is invaded is because of history. He just thinks he can own Ukraine. And recently also Dmitry Medvedev, a former president of Russia, said that even if we're going to make a peace deal, we're still going to eventually want to take the whole Ukraine, because they don't recognize Ukraine as a state. They want Ukraine to be part of them. They think they have ultimate right for Ukraine, which is why it's the problem. I mean, I understand that you want peace, you want everything to be like that, but the situation is more complex than that. And I don't think they think that it's really as easy to solve it right now with these peace negotiations, when Russia clearly doesn't want that.
Yeah, I think you bring up important points, but I respectfully disagree with you, because I think there has been significant throughout the years NATO expansion. And I think this war started in 2014, ever since we had this kind of larger coup, this larger kind of revolution, this larger kind of American influence backed kind of revolt that happened in Ukraine. The Minsk agreement is an important point that I think a lot of people also need to talk about, that you brought up in that specific counterpoint. But to me, the main thing that has been the thing stopping negotiations is Zelensky saying, I will not negotiate. I will not talk to this guy. We will not come to the negotiation tables until just a few days ago. So I think just at least entertaining, just at least being able to sit across the table and talk to each other, I think is a step in the right direction. And for me, there's been so much life loss and so many people that have lost their lives that it's overwhelming. And it's just absolutely insane. And to me, the only point forward is to stop this immediately.
Well, quick addition though, the Minsk Accord was also violated by Ukraine when they continued to bomb the Donbas region, and they also tore up the lease on Crimea.
The Donbas region. If you think that I don't think I really get that talking point. Like how Ukraine bombed the Donbas, it's fully intact. I personally have some friends from Ukraine and from Donbas. Nobody bombed the Donbas itself. They bombed the military targets, but they did not bomb like civilians. If you want to see what bombing civilians looks like, you can look at Mariupol, for example, or you can look at Bakhmut, where like Russia grounded everything. Mariupol would be the better example. Like Ukraine did not bomb Donetsk. That's just not true.
Well, it is true. They were bombing them. There's documentaries on it. I've watched them.
Military targets, yes, but they were not bombing civilians like Russia is doing that in Ukraine right now every day. Like recently, they bombed the Okhmad, the children's hospital in Ukraine. Russia did that. Ukraine never done that in Donbas.
Well, the initial reports are very conflicted on who's actually responsible. Allegedly, that was an American missile. Have you actually dug into it?
You can look at it. It's Kinjal 101. It's very evident on the video. You don't even have to be super proficient in that. You can just look at the pictures. It's all open in the internet. You can just look it up.
Well, to have a nuanced perspective on this, and which I think we need to do, because a lot of people are getting news from either like the Russian side, other people are getting news from the Western side. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, because there have been conflicts, there have been wars between the Ukrainians and the Donbass region, and they did go after military targets, but also there was a lot of incidences where innocent civilians did get caught up, where innocent civilians did get bombed in the Donbass region. Now, that also is also happening with the Russian side. Now, what happened with that specific hospital, we still don't know the great details of, and I would wait until we find out exactly what happened here, but there's a possibility that it could have been an accidental Ukrainian missile launch, or it could have been a deflection, because I do see both sides not trying to specifically target civilians, because this is also a larger... Hold on 1 second, because we'll let you talk. Taylor, we'll let you talk. We appreciate your perspective, and we want to hear your side. But just we listen to you. Just listen to us for a little bit, please. I do believe this is a larger information war. It's a larger PR war. And sadly, through accidents, I don't believe it's deliberate. I think both sides have hurt and taken the lives of innocent civilians, and they have paid the truest price for it all here. Sorry, Taylor. I don't know if you were able to hear me, what I said. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything, but we're here to listen to you, Taylor.
Well, I want to add, I don't think it's true to say that there's two sides. No, deliberately, Russia has been bombing civilians. And if you look at, there's been remotely almost no accidents when Ukraine harms civilians. Maybe you can find like one somewhere, but Russia has been doing it all the time. And recently, as I said, the rocket that hit the children's hospital, it was not American. And you don't have to be like, it's not like, Ukraine is the war where you see so much footage as in no other war. And you can look at the footage of the rocket flying there. Many people have found it out. It's only if you're blind or you're just trying to make something up that you cannot see that was clearly Kinjal 101, KH-101 Russian missile, the same missile that they use all the time to bomb Kharkiv. It's the missiles that America and Ukraine doesn't have, and it's a cruise-out missile that launches from the sky. So it was only Russia who would have done that.
Why do you think that they would bomb a children's hospital? I'm just curious what you think.
Like, what would they gain from bombing a children's hospital?
Well, first and foremost, because they can, and second is more important reason is because the more you do that, the more people in Ukraine getting tired of war, and the more likely they are to surrender. That's the reason why they're doing that.
I think it would radicalize the domestic population to continue to want to fight if you're actually coming after kids. But I don't think we're going to have a meeting of the minds on this topic in particular. But I do appreciate your perspective. I have one additional question for you before you head out. How do you feel about the peace negotiations that were scuttled by Boris Johnson at direction of the U.S. State Department in the first month of the war?
Those negotiations were not really scuttled by that. If you want to really know what we were scuttled by, you can just look it up at the text of these negotiations. Russia wanted first and foremost to turn Ukraine into some sort of a Weimar Republic where they had an audacity to ask Ukraine to say, hey, you should like reduce the military, which would further open the doors for Russia for further attacks. Like if you look at the actual text of the peace plan, it was evident that Russia didn't really want any peace plan. They were just having a moment where they wanted to just stop the war for some time, like they did with Minsk agreements, to then attack again. That's what
do you think it was appropriate for Lindsey Graham and John McCain to be on the ground in Ukraine in 2018 saying, next year we take the fight to Russia?
Well, this was specifically during the Maidan Revolution, which, according to many sources, was directly influenced by the U.S. State Department and U.S. aid organizations that, of course, largely helped create a lot of kind of chaos there to make Ukraine more of a sphere of influence towards the West rather than the East.
This was actually after Maidan. This was 4 years after, but they were already using.
After 2014.
They were already using CIA assets to train up the Ukrainian military. the issue that I think, or the approach that I take with this, is that I think that there's been a lot of subterfuge and basically using Ukraine against Russia. I think it's been a massive detriment to the Ukrainian people, and I just wanted to see that stop. Now that we've escalated to a point of war, we're on the cusp of potential World War III.
Who escalated to the point of war? It's not the United States who escalated to the point of war. It was only Russia's fault. It's nobody else's fault that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, well, you and I are definitely not going to agree on that.
I love when people say it's only the fault of one person. It's only the fault of Russia. Russia's always the culpable one, or the United States is always the culpable one.
Exactly. Yeah, I know you're trying to be sarcastic, but that's actually the case. Yes.
Right, and I love when people say that because that's blatantly false. In every situation, there's always more than one person in a conflict. You cannot have a single person conflict. It just doesn't exist.
Conflict has more than one person, but this conflict in particular, it's only one person. It's Vladimir Putin. It's the state of Russia. That's the only perpetrator of this war.
Are you Ukrainian or Russian?
I am Ukrainian. Yes.
Yeah. I can understand that this is a very, topic that's very close to your heart, and you're passionate about it, and I appreciate it, man. From my vantage point, I'm most interested in peace, and I'm most interested in avoiding sending U.S. troops to end up, fighting in a hot war against the largest nuclear power on earth.
Send troops. I don't think anybody ever wanted to send troops. America was always.
Well,
I mean,
brother,
you're
not going to win this war unless you have U.S. troops on the ground.
What do you mean by win the war?
Well, win the war would be regaining all of your territory. You think that you can win it just using the Ukrainian soldiers that you have left?
America sends enough equipment. I think if Ukraine wins a significant amount of territory and not all, then the further can be done with negotiations. But it's ultimately, the solution is not as easy. And, if we're going to freeze the line right now, it's not going to help because it's going to have another war in a couple of years.
Yeah. Taylor, we appreciate your perspective. We gave you more time than anyone else. Call in another time. Let's discuss this issue further. We appreciate your perspective. I know it's near and dear to your heart. Thank you so much for being a member. Thank you so much for calling in. We're going to have to go to our next guest who's going to be coming in now. Taylor, again, thank you. Thank you for the discussion. It was riveting, and I think it was important to have. Let's continue it, and thank you so much for calling in. All right. As of course, soon, just in a couple seconds from now, we're going to have Rob Schneider coming in studio here and then talking to us. As of course, Josie, you could probably just pull a chair right here. And we still have a lot of things to discuss. I think discussing the larger kind of alleged intel agency involvement and Russian interference will be the perfect segue to talk about with, of course, Rob Schneider, who is just outside the door and is going to be coming in and being a part of this broadcast right now. Josie, do you want to kind of bring him in here as well? Because he's outside right now. Tell him to bring him in, or tell him that we're live already and that he's going to be taking the seat right next to Martha. Yes, Rob's outside right now. And then
he's going to be taking the seat next to me, boys.
I know Martha's super excited about this.
I am super excited. I love Rob. I think he's so great.
We saw a comedy show that he did in Dania Beach about 2 months ago?
No, it's been a long time. It was like last year.
Yeah. Well, has it been?
Yes, it's been over a full year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I guess time has been flying by.
2 months ago.
Yeah, that was like yesterday. That was like yesterday.
Just the other day. I do that all the time. Time flies.
But it was a brilliant comedy show that we definitely absolutely enjoyed.
Let me give a quick shout out to the caller just now, because I am pretty much 180 degrees different from him perspective-wise when it comes to the Ukraine war. But the fact that he wants to, still support our work, it means a lot to me, man.
Well, the fact that he's willing to have a discussion and to question us about our core beliefs, I think is awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
So if you're a caller and you disagree with us, we love that. We love having these discussions. He's from Ukraine. He obviously sees things from a different perspective than we do.
Of course.
And we're going to ask him to call in at another time. As of course, we're going to have to turn down his microphone to make sure it's a little bit better. Rob, is that okay, Rob?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you,
Awesome.
man.
Rob Schneider, everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Luke. I appreciate it.
We really appreciate
Nice
you
to be
coming
here
in
with Martha.
studio.
I know comics don't usually wake up this early, so I apologize. I'm sure.
I know there's that old Lenny Bruce joke. He met Lenny Bruce, the old comedian. He met a couple on the road in Florida, and he said, "Can we invite you over for dinner? The house for dinner?" And the next morning they call him at 9 in the morning, and they said, "I hope we didn't wake you up." He says, "No problem. I always love to get up 12 hours before I go to work. Gives me a chance to brush my teeth."
Awesome.
Thanks
Well,
a lot.
it's an honor having you. We were at multiple of your comedy shows. I think last year, me and Martha were at your
That's right, yeah.
your Miami one, which was absolutely incredible. We were
Thank
at the
you.
one yesterday, and the stuff
You were there
saying,
yesterday?
yeah, the stuff you were saying was top notch, absolutely
Thank
next
you.
level stuff. And I could
Oh, thank
see
you.
why it triggers a lot of people.
It does. People get very angry. I can't believe it. I tell jokes and it's on the news. I don't know how that. I don't know. That's a
gonna
state.
be wild.
I don't know. I was in Australia and I remember like I got like something somebody sent me about a charity gig I did. I raised $350,000 in Canada for a pediatric. What do you call it? The part of the hospital. Anyway, people were complaining. So you're complaining? Are you going to give the $350,000 back? But you're right. It does. Yeah. It is a sign of our the sign of the times where people they get upset over ideas, and I think it is. It's because I just don't think they were allowed to before, and also I think it's some form of I don't know. It's like they're disgruntled. I don't understand where it's coming from.
It's like mass psychosis and
Yeah.
a combination of everyone given participation trophies and everyone saying your feelings are more important than any kind of factual
Yeah.
evidence provided to you in front of your eyes.
Wait, did I
I was
understand this
struggling for a
correctly?
second there, and you really did answer it way better than me.
You
though.
gave
Thank
you gave $350,000 for a children's hospital.
raised.
Hell no.
Oh, you. Oh,
No,
you
I
raised.
showed up.
raised.
I
Okay.
showed up, and then they raised $350,000.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Off of my good name.
But
and my
Off
jokes.
of how upset they were.
Yeah.
He
Because-
still raised $350,000 for kids, and they were upset over this.
Yeah,
It's like,
man.
People paid $350,000 to come see me as a group, not as an individual. But there were some tables of that 10,000. The front table and all that crap.
did you
Anyway.
pick on them? Please tell me you picked
No,
on
I
them.
didn't. I just did my jokes, and they you can have me come to your event if I show up, but you don't get to tell me what to say. I mean, that's me.
I love that. You've also, I've noticed you've been canceled a few times. And I
Yeah.
just love that you've been canceled for telling jokes.
I know, I like it.
And not
it's
just
not
by
for anything.
Yep.
It's not for any particular bad behavior. I've never hurt anybody on a movie. I've never, I've never ran over anybody with
Did
my
you ever
car.
fly to a private island
I
where
never
where they were with
I've never-
presidents and Mr. Epstein?
I never. I mean, I've met Bill Clinton, but I've never really. I've never hung out with him for any of this. No, I never did any of it. I just told jokes, but I guess that's enough to get canceled. I like how they kind of exaggerated. They go like, the guy that was complaining was like, he was also angry that people were laughing hard. He was just as angry as these people for laughing, So, it's part of it. I think what happens is you have whiners and complainers that have access to, I guess to express themselves in a way that they never were before. It's like somebody. Like, have you ever written to a TV show when you were a kid and I was very insulted by the show? No, right?
No, never.
Okay, well, there are people that do that.
Wow.
And now Twitter and these other places allow access for it.
Can we deport them? Like if you're the type that writes a letter saying that I was offended by something that I voluntarily watched, I think like that should put you on a deportation list.
If you were president of the United States, would you deport all the soy boy, soy jack
All the
ninnies
Absolutely.
and the
not.
betas?
Well, I want to make sure that you become uncancelable for at least some part of your life. So I
Thank
did
you.
see one of the reasons you were canceled
Yeah.
is because you dared to make a paella in a
Oh,
fashion
wow.
that is not acceptable. You
that's
dared
true.
to put chorizo into a paella, into the oven. So
That is-
even though you are half Filipino and you are married to a Latina, I felt it was my duty and my honor
Please.
to make sure that you are now an honorary Latino. Yes,
Hold
I am
that up.
bestowing to you on behalf
Thank
of
you.
all my Hispanics, my Latinos, you are now officially
I love this.
a Hispanic. And so
Gracias
now you
por
can,
todo, Marta.
there you go. You speak
Mi
Spanish. How is
amiga.
this possible?
Increíble. Gracias.
Muy bien.
No, yo soy muy feliz. Gracias. Gracias.
We cannot
What does that
cancel
say
you.
on there?
I feel complete now.
It's a Latino card. You're
Yes,
giving him the Latino
the
card,
Latino
Martha.
Yo
card.
soy completo ahora. Gracias.
What privileges does he get now?
Well, now he can definitely make fun of Latinos and Hispanics in his
No,
jokes without being
But
canceled.
Martha, you have to explain what happened. I made paella, and it was like I had an overflow dish, and it was at Christmas time. And I know you're not supposed to Christmas, even saying Christmas these days, or
That's cancelable.
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's
you'll
like,
get
'cause you
canceled for that one.
You don't want to piss off all the people that are gonna go to hell. So, it was Christmas time, and then I made a paella for people that are coming to the house, you know. And I wanted to have, so I have the paella pan, and then there was some more that I had, and I said, well, I'll just get the overflow pan for people if they want seconds, and I just put it in a regular pan, which works just as good. Let's be honest, as long as the paella is cooked in chicken stock, which is real chicken that we use, and then real nice paella rice, and then you put seafood in it, and the seafood really adds the flavor of it. It's all pretty much whatever clams and nice live stuff that you can, whatever you can get. And anyway, so I took a picture of the overflow dish, and I said, I'm cooking my paella, and it was on the front page of La País, which is like the big newspaper in Spain. It's like their New York Times. It's like Rob Schneider insults Spain by calling this paella. And then I literally said, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But I got a call from Jose Andres. He's a famous chef, and now a famous liberal, Democrat supporter. But he's a great chef. And so even though I'm more conservative now, of course, because you have to be for freedom of speech and for being able to express yourselves. And I think conservatives now seem to be the voice of the people. So anyway, he calls me up and he said, you need to apologize to España. You need to. And I went like, what? He said, no, that's what you did. And so and he said, well, the traditional paella, it's not even, it's rabbit and asparagus. It's not even, you don't put fish, you don't. I said, they do that in Sevilla, yeah, but I know, they're reckless down there too. They don't care. So anyway, I said, okay, that's the only time I apologized. I wouldn't do it again. But I said, sorry that I cooked dinner for all my friends.
I would have doubled down. I would have tripled down. I would have tried to offend them that much more.
I know. Never apologize.
Yeah.
I never apologize for
That's
a
what I
joke.
wanted to ask you, because we saw Dave Chappelle kind of lead the way when it comes to so many people attacking him. Same with Joe Rogan. There were so many efforts to stifle any kind of legitimate discussions that he was able to bring forward.
Yeah.
That was able to kind of grease the wheels of society. I think comedians play an extremely important role in society, where a lot of the issues that are uncomfortable, a lot of the issues that are very hard to talk about, you guys kind of grease the wheels and you make it that much easier for people to get along, to understand each other through comedy, through humor, and through positive energy. And to me, that's a direct assault against the liars in our society, the people who want to divide us, the people who want us to be attacking each other, not liking each other, and hating each other because of our petty, superficial differences. So I want to commend you because of how many people tried to cancel you. Not just the liberals, but also the conservatives canceled you. The conservatives were also mad at you.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, maybe we could take this to another kind of platform, because if you think, if you think cancel culture is bad, wait until you learn about YouTube algorithm censorship. That's another one that's really bad.
Wow.
But I was going to ask you, what do you think are the biggest kind of trip lines in society that comedians are routinely attacked for, that are the biggest things that people are afraid to joke about?
Well, I would say right now, first of all, comedians, what you're saying, Luke, thank you. We have the ability to take a look at a social issue, or just take a look at something that's trying to be adopted into society very quickly, and at least question it and look at it like any writer or comedian who's consider myself a writer. And I have a new book, by the way.
What's the book called?
You Can Do It, Speak Your Mind, America. And it's about free speech. I didn't think it was going to be that difficult to write, but it really was.
You Can Do It.
Speak Your Mind, America.
Speak Your Mind, America.
Oh, but you got to do it in the You Can Do It.
You can do it. Speak Your Mind, America. Thank you, Martha. I forgot my own catchphrase. But it really, what it is we can actually take a look at things and before they're absorbed automatically into the culture, and maybe question them. And if you get the audience to laugh at it, and if you do get them to laugh, and it gets out into millions of people laughing, like, when I was doing a joke about slave reparations, it literally took me about a year to crystallize the idea. And then I was driving, and I said, "Oh man, I think I got it." And because I was back in California, I was doing some shows, with opening for a friend of mine at some big stadium, and I said, "Oh, I got one for this opening one." And it was the idea of slave reparations. And it took me like a year just thinking about it, and to crystallize something very simple. The best ideas are the ones you could express in a simple manner, and especially if you're trying to ridicule a particular thing. And so the joke was, California, the legislature wants to it's gone through committee to pay slave reparations. So they want to pay people slave reparations to people who are never slaves, to be paid for by people who never owned slaves in a state that never had slaves. And I said, that's like paying child support to a woman, sorry, child support for a child you never had to a woman you never effed. And
a woman that's a man.
Yeah. And a woman. Okay, yeah.
Damn.
That could be a good tag.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I did it in California, and it just got such a roar because they just right in the belly of the beast, California. They realize how crazy that is. So I think comedians, as far as be specific to answer your question about what it is right now, I feel like, and what I talk about in the book, You Can Do It, Speak Your Mind, America, that it's like the tide. It kind of coming in and coming out. I mean, it was definitely more liberal in the 1970s humor than it was now.
Yeah,
and
George
even
Carlin, Eddie Murphy.
But even in Back to the Future, some of the stuff which was PG-13, you couldn't do now. So I do think there's a regression and I think a fear, and you really had some of the comedians that I think the ones who go against the grain, they can accuse me of being like a grifter to the right. Believe me, if I wanted to make more money, I would not be challenging the status quo. I'd be going with it.
Yeah, you go to Pfizer. You go to Moderna. You go to all these other corporations that buy off celebrities all the time. You go to the Black Lives Matter organization, and they give you millions and millions of dollars to promote their cause. You do the current thing that they want you promoting. So we have the Amazon link up here. You can do it. Speak Your Mind, and it's going to be released September 24th. Is that correct here?
September 24th. Yeah, it's a good book. It's about comedians and the struggle for comedy and the people who were literally destroyed by the government.
Yeah, we have the book pulled up here. We're showing it to all of our viewers, and we're going to copy. Is Amazon the best way? Is there another way?
I think right now, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a B. Dalton bookstores. Is it B. Dalton? No, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? B. Dalton. Is that?
Is that a publisher?
No, it's B. Dalton's like a bookstore from my childhood. Barnes and Noble has it. B. Dalton, I swear, is like the books. That's been interestingly. Remember, I mean, when I was a kid, there used to be right by the cash register, there would be like a revolving little paperback books of jokes about Polish jokes, Italian jokes, and it's like you open it up and it's a picture like an Italian airline, and it's just like an airline with hair under the wings, hair on, and so nobody would seem to be bothered by that, but I don't think you can do that now.
Now you can do it about Hispanic people.
I think that the reason
no, only white guys guys are allowed to be made fun of now, and no one else. So
because they're systemically racist and oppressing everyone.
Absolutely, yeah, we're all the bad guys. We commit all the crimes and steal all the money, and
it's
and
okay
we're
to
awful.
be racist against you because
I mean, look at Clint. Clint's
racist
awful. Clint's a white guy. I'm a white guy. We're horrible. We're bad people.
I feel oppressed just being near that.
I think that's the reason that comedians
Those
scare
low
the
socks
left
of his.
so much.
Why was that?
I think it's because the way that they're able to wield power over people is with fear and guilt and shame. And what comedians do, they take these things that we're not supposed to talk about because of fear or guilt or shame, and they soften them in a way where people can laugh at them. And so that takes the power from the left to be able to take the fear and the guilt and the shame.
I should have talked to you before I finished writing the book.
I'll take it one step further. Look at like George Carlin, who could take what was happening and make it in a way that was palatable And it transcends time. You can watch a George Carlin special today, and it's still very
How about
true.
how about during the pandemic when he said, like, we didn't need to have worry about our immune system because we swam in shit. We swam, and people go, yeah, it just makes sense, and that's a real testament to that great comedian. It was that years later, he's still popping up.
Yeah, and you know what the left does now? They get their own comedians in there, and they're not funny. They're not looking for laughter. They're looking for claps. They're looking to have their opinion agreed with, and that's kind of trying to replace it with the new laughter.
No, I think I described it. It's like it's no longer comedy. It's just it's political indoctrination in the guise of comedy. It's more like I call it a liberal Klan meeting. It's like
very well put.
Yeah.
But I think what good comedians need to be contrarians and asking questions about stuff. And my opening line that seemed to piss off people in Canada was like, "I'm old school. I come from the era of dickless women." Anyway, that was.
You also come from an era of good fathers. I think you are an excellent father. You're promoting a movie with your daughter, and
Thank you.
A lot of people don't know that you also have a famous daughter, a very famous daughter.
Yeah, my daughter, Elle King. She's a terrific performer and songwriter, creative person, and very proud of her. And she's performing all over the place. So it's good. I don't recommend.
Beautiful voice.
Absolutely amazing. And I think that dickless women and
I'm a
fathers
supporter of
in
women.
the home.
For the people who try to cancel me, I'm pro lesbian, pro women. If anything, it's really what you have to realize is this. In people asking to not be to deny the reality that they see and hear is it is a misogynistic attack on women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Who doesn't like lesbians? Am I right?
Yeah.
But it's so crazy to me that lesbians
Who wouldn't want to crash
accept...
a lesbian dating site?
All the dudes are doing it now. If you look at all the situations, if you look at all the creatures that you're seeing on there, it's literally dudes in wigs that are pretending to be lesbians because that's our current dating market right now, which is pretty absurd.
You are.
You're a bigot.
Yeah. You better take the wiener from the woman, or else you're not accepted in our society.
Well, no, but the worst part is lesbians having to deal with guys. They've spent, ever since they were able to make the choice, they didn't want the male genitalia. They wanted to go the other way. They wanted the same, not different. And now they're being forced and shamed into doing something that's is diametrically opposed to their personal sexual choice. It's it's a unique time. We are living in interesting times for sure.
Oh yeah, and I think it's only going to get crazier from here, and that's why I really wanted to ask you, what do you think is the kind of strategy here moving forward? What's the way out of this kind of crazy psyop control grid matrix where it's only the approved messaging that gets across? How do we get across to the youth of this country that are being just inundated with propaganda through their phones every single day?
Well, I would say that the youth rebels against authority, and if the left, the controlling, tyrannical, censorious left, is now the authority, and so it'll be kids will rebel against it naturally. It's just whatever they're told they can't do, they're going to want to do. I know that's what I was. That's what I wanted to do. So it will be, and I think that kids, you will see you can't keep kids from doing what they want to do, and they're going to rise up against it. Unfortunately, you do have Luke. You really do have a time where a real indoctrination in a university and social media. We're not going to really know exactly for another decade or two to get a handle on what this is really doing, on whether it's how they're rewiring people's brains for this, to lower their attention span, and how much of this people are really taking in. I mean, it really is like I look at anything that changes society in a major way. Like I look at the airlines. The fact that you take a look at the the airplanes, basically in 1903, was its invention by the Wright brothers. I mean, the French claim, the Russians claim they came up with it. But for all intents and purposes, for our discussion here on your podcast, it was the Wright brothers in 1903 in Ohio. So, but then it took 15 years after its invention for the government to learn how to drop bombs out of it to start killing people. So if you take a look at social media, it's between 15 and 20 years of its real impact on the world. And so they're just figuring out how to drop bombs out of it and kill people again. So it will, but it did take another 15 years after that before it became a form of mass transportation for people to get from one part of the world to another part of the world. So I'm hopeful that it'll be a transition. And we still have a great country here, even though it's being slowly degraded in freedom of speech and political choice. I do think we have a good system here where the court system, while imperfect, still doing pretty good. I mean, like what Moms of America was able to do last week by stopping the Biden administration's attack on Title IX, which was, Title IX came from the last progressive president, Richard Nixon. So I think, overall, there's some things to feel good about.
I can't wait for kids to start rebelling against the current time and turn into alpha males, and they just want to build things in the forest. Let's go.
You know what? That's so interesting you mentioned that, because I saw a movie the other day made by a very talented guy, John Krasinski. I mean, he's a real hero for actors, because he's not just an actor. He's a writer. He's a producer. He's a director. He's a creator of stuff. And he made these wonderful movies, A Quiet Place, which are really good, scary stuff. And he made this new one, or he produced it, which is called A Quiet Place at the Beginning. And then I'm watching this movie, and then you see this guy whimpering and being taken care of by this woman dying of cancer. And she's like, it's like a total reversal, emasculation of men, where the guy is just screaming and about to get eaten by the alien, and she's trying to get him to be quiet. And then she takes off her sweater at one point and gives him her sweater. It's like, what? Yeah. What is? It's just total deep. It's a total emasculating. The whole thing with toxic masculinity. That I think is, what my new wave of. I'm trying to figure out how to mock that. And like you're talking about what comedians can do, and their comedian services. If we can get people to really ridicule and laugh at something, then that's something that won't last. I mean, this idea of women with penises, it's not based in anything that's going to be here 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Yeah, and it's hilarious, and we're not able to laugh about it, which we're not allowed to laugh about it, except the people who dare to and then get canceled and then get attacked.
That's why we try to keep the lights low in all the comedy clubs and the theaters.
Yeah. I definitely want to get into kind of the larger agenda here, because you spoke on some very interesting points that are absolutely brilliant and absolutely important, especially with your kind of analogy to what happened to the airplane industry, which I think is happening right now with the internet, with how weaponized it has become, the larger kind of themes that are going out there. We have one super chat from Pepe Payne, who says, "Good day, Rob. Much love. Comedians have always existed to be a release valve for society. Gestures onward was the way to relieve the thoughts the populace had, but was too scared to act on." I would agree with that super chat. That's related to this conversation. I think our button pusher, Andrew, had something he wanted to add.
Yeah.
When you were talking about freedom of speech and how important it is, and yesterday you brought up the case of Count Dankula. There we go. The case of Count Dankula.
That's right.
He taught his girlfriend's dog to Hail Hitler, and obviously a funny joke, arrested for it. And
can you imagine for getting arrested for teaching your dog to lift his paw?
We're going to leave YouTube in just a second there, Andrew.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me.
You're about to get kicked off YouTube.
Let me save that question for the spicier platform, I guess.
Okay, we'll wait until we do that. As of course, YouTube's algorithms literally read every single word we say right now, and if it's a spicy word, it ruins our engagement.
Wow.
So it ruins the amount of people our subscribers that actually get to see our video. So in real time, the censorship happens where we're looking at the numbers, and we even bring up an alternative platform that we're going to be going to now.
And that's enough to
trigger it because it's competition to YouTube. So we're going to do that probably right now. So we're going to get off YouTube, our main platform, and we're going to go over to, of course, the free speech platform that we will continue this conversation on. And then you guys could say whatever you want. Total unlimited free speech, but YouTube also picks up curse words. So if you say curse words, they're like, we're going to show it to less people.
If they did break up the long distance phone companies because it was
a monopoly,
obviously a monopoly, well then they have to break up Google.
Absolutely, and
if they don't. It will have to happen eventually. Yeah. It's just that's what the kind of power they wield, and truthfully, like it serves the liberal intelligentsia and then the control base, the censorship industrial complex.
Yeah, and they're definitely invested in this election cycle. And according to many mainline studies, they could swing elections in many different ways.
You're talking about Robert Epstein.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
We had a lot
of. I saw
of
it in real time in the 2020 election as I was volunteering for Joe Jorgensen's campaign. The day of the presidential debates, her numbers were going up. People were searching for Joe Jorgensen. And then you see a sharp decline, and she's not mentioned anywhere. They took all of our social media handles off.
Absolutely.
They took all of the hashtags, and they completely censored it. So
and
it
for
was
anybody
wild.
who thinks it's just a conspiracy theory, I mean, Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberg, they have
the Twitter
receipts.
files.
They have the receipts.
Yeah.
And they show it, and it's really remarkable that there's been. You would think the Democratic Party would come to Jesus on that and go, you know what? That's not okay. We need to, but no, they just keep.
They're doubling down on it.
They just double down. They just keep going forward with it, and it's to their great, historical shame. I mean, there's no difference between them and Joe McCarthy. No,
Absolutely.
No
and now we're even learning about Russian interference in this election cycle. We're going to be talking about that.
There was about 200 people.
Yep. Yes. No, there's a new one that just came out today.
We didn't learn from round one. We're going to do it in round two.
Exactly.
Again.
So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of other issues. We still have you for about 20-30 minutes, so we're going to get into that on the next platform. So before leaving YouTube and Facebook.
Goodbye YouTube. Goodbye CIA.
Just goodbye Deep State Intelligentsia.
Goodbye. Goodbye
just,
National Security Agency.
Just really tell
Goodbye
us.
Goodbye Federal Bureau of Investigation.
See, MI5 and all these other.
They may be on the other one. They just don't have the.
They don't have the pull. They don't have the.
They aren't able to.
This other platform actually fights against.
I bet you they actually tune in on the other one because they don't have the algorithms.
They have to. I mean, how else are they going to grow as an agency?
Exactly.
You have to grow.
True.
If you have a company, you want to grow your company.
Right.
If it happens to be, the deep state security industrial complex, you're going to have to want to hire more people. You want to get more money from the government. You have to. We need somebody to start monitoring Rumble. Okay, how many do you need? And then of course they'll come up with more money.
So now we're going over to Rumble. Everyone, just quick, give us your plug where people could find you as we leave these censorious technocratic
I'm on
places.
tour.
Right?
You can find my tour dates on robschneider.com. For the fall, and then into 2025. But the new book is You Can Do It, Speak Your Mind, America. And it's a free speech book and a lot of comedy. And we also do different subjects in there about free speech and how it was strangled the last few years. But it's a lot of good jokes in there, too.
Yeah, we're going to put it in the description, and our producer is putting it in the chat room right now so people could click on it and get it right now. Martha,
Pre-order
where can
it.
people find you really quick?
Where can people
you can find
you,
me at Bueno for Miami on X and IG.
That's perfect.
At Clint Russell is on there, at Andrew